Welcome back to Arcade. This is part 3 and the final part of making your first Phaser 3 game with TypeScript. Now in the last part we covered, from the official guide here, adding a player and moving that player around. So we'll just show you. So here, left arrow, right arrow, up for jump. Looks great. Added some animations. And so we have the physics debug turned to true. That's why you see this velocity line and the bounding boxes. All right, so now we're going to continue. And so right now this game is not much, so let's make some challenge or reason to play. So we're going to add some stars to collect, and just like this tutorial says. So let's do that. So you see the stars global. We're going to, because we're using TypeScript, put it in here, stars, and then it will be a phaser.physics.arcade.group. All right, so we're gonna just go down here. So naturally, this is not the best way to order your code. If you want a guide on that, be sure to go to blog.arcade.co. And then just search for the let's see, first Phaser game, I believe. And so we have this making your first Phaser 3 game in modern JavaScript, where it's a 5-part series where we actually do cover splitting up your code into different pieces and using consts, for example, for these keys, so you don't have to repeat writing it and potentially making an error when you write it. So check that out. We'll link it in the show notes. This is modern JS instead of TypeScript, but the syntax is relatively similar and the structuring is going to be the same. And one difference is you can use enums in TypeScript instead of const strings, but the concept is the same. So let's continue here with the stars. So stars, this.physics.add.group. So key star, so we're gonna make an 11 apparently, and then set x, y. So x start at 12, y start at 0, and then for each step in its repeat, in its loop, in its iteration to 11, 70 apart. Okay. And so in this group, this dot stars, we can do children dot iterate. So what is children? It's a set. Dot iterate, and I'm using a lambda here. You could still use anonymous functions. I do prefer lambdas. And let's see what we got. Okay, so child dot set bounce, because it's giving us just a game object since it doesn't know, but we know that it is actually a phaser.physics.arcade. It means at least an image. I'll just use that. It's complaining. Yes. All right. Let's see. Multiple ways of resolving this. May have to cast to unknown. No, the TypeScript lets us do that. Okay, so I'm going to call this C and call this child. You can use better names than me if you so inclined. Set bounce y. So phaser.math.float between. So this guy says a float between 0.4 and 0.8. If you just do phaser.math.between, it's an int. Good. Okay, yep, this explains what this is doing, but basically it gives you, I think, 10 or 11 stars. So it explains here, separated starting at x12 and then separating by 70 pixels as it creates them all by 12, because it makes one and then repeating 11 times. Then we set the bounce. Okay, now we need to set collider. So if you remember from the last part, we'll just run it. See, these stars come, but they hit nothing because we need to specify what it's colliding with. It will not collide with everything by default. So we'll do this .physics.add.collider, and it's going to be, I'll just follow, but it's platforms first or stars first. So it did stars first, we'll just follow that. It doesn't really matter which you do first, but it will, depending on which one you pass in first, I believe it affects in the callback if you want to handle anything which comes back first in the parameter list. Do that, and it should hit. Great. Looks nice, and they bounce Y because we specified right here, set bounce Y. And okay, overlap player stars. Yes, so now we need to overlap the player and the stars, and then collect them. Physics.add.overlap this.player layer this.stars, and so we're gonna produce a private handle collect star, and so you see here we get player and we get star. So player, now we have to specify this as game object, and then star is just one star dot game objects dot game object. So if we don't, we'll get an TypeScript will complain here that the parameter types don't match, because it specifically, I'll just show you, it specifically wants object 2 and then callback, which is an arcade physics callback, which specifically states this. And so if we don't do this and instead, so let's say we know our player is .arcade.sprite, right? It's going to complain. So we're just going to do it this way. It's not optimal, but we'll just do that for now. Okay, so undefined because we don't have that other, which is the process callback. So you can do some things like determine if you want the collision to happen based, so you can do your own logic before the collide happens. And then context is just what the callback function, in what context it'll be called in. So this means that this will be the actual list that you expect, opposed to something else. So like in JavaScript, you can bind the this of any function. So this is just what it's doing. So there we go. So first, I bet this doesn't work because the IntelliSense won't work. Right. So we, similar to what we did previously, so we're actually just going to cast this because we know that it is phaser.physics.arcade.sprite or image. So star.disable body. True. And hide. So disable and hide, true, true. That explains what it's doing. So it's basically going to turn off the star when we run into it. All right, let's just give this a twirl. So there they are. Come on. There we go. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Next part. Now let's add some scores. So here we go. All right, so let's see. So these are two globals, so we're gonna stick it into our class here. Private score. Start at 0. Private score text. So score text is going to be phaser.gameobjects.text, and it could be undefined. Okay. So in the create, so let's just go down here. This dot score text, this dot add dot text, put it at 16, 16. Remember, top left corner is 0, 0, so that's just 16 off from the top left. Score 0, font size 32 pixels. Fill. I believe this is black. Let's see, what do we get? Ta-da, score. So that was really easy to just show some text on screen. So collect stars. So in collect stars, you're going to update the score and then update the score label. So this dot score. So we're going to give it 10 points. 10 points. Score text. Dot set text. And we're going to do, so I'm just going to use the interpolation syntax instead. I do prefer it. It's a little nicer than having the plus. We can also do it exactly like we have here as well. 10 points, okay, great. Let's see if it works. 10 points. Oh. 10 points. 10 points. So that's pretty good. So this guide is not going to cover sound effects, but if you are looking to see how to do that, we do have a video series on making Pong in Phaser from scratch that does cover that. I will link it to you in the description below. Now here we go. We are going to wrap this up. We're going to add some bombs to add some challenge to this game, because I mean, you know, just walking around collecting stars is all good, but it's not that fun. So bomb, here's another group, and we're going to set a private variable, bombs, which is going to be phaser.physics.arcade.group. And yes, it can be undefined. So we're just going to put this here at the end of this create. Now you see this create method is super long. We should probably clean up this code, but you can do that as an exercise for yourself. Or check out that modern JavaScript blog post I had mentioned in the previous video. So let's see, this.physics.add.group. So we create the bombs group. So now this.physics.add. So we can add a collider between the bombs and the platform and the player and the bombs. So this bombs, this dot platforms, and the bombs will bounce on the platforms. Dot add dot collider, this dot player, this dot bombs, and this is the callback. So let's just put the handler. We're going to call it the handle hit bomb. We will get a player and a bomb because this is the order we put it in. So it's going to be similar to this. I'm just going to copy that, and instead of it's going to be bomb. And this dot handle hit bomb, the process function we don't need rather. So undefined, and against the context is this. And so what we're doing here, pause physics, hit the player, play the turn, and then go game over. Okay. So this dot physics dot pause. So we actually this dot player. We don't have to use the passing player. We know there's only one player, and we have a class reference to it. So this dot player dot set tint. I believe that's red. 0, 0, 0, 0. And if you have not seen the previous video, this is optional chaining. I explained it a bit in part 2. Do go back and check that out. This dot player dot anims dot player. We're going to play the turn anim. Now this game over flag. So let's set a game over flag here. So private game over false. That's going to be a bool. And then here, this dot game over true. So far, okay. Okay, so that's good. Just make sure that we recompile, no errors. Nothing should have changed. Fantastic. So now we're going to make some bombs appear. Looks like we're going to do it when we collect a star. Okay. We collect a star, we update our score. Now if stars.countActive true, so if there are no stars, so we collected all the stars, this stars.children.iterate, and let's see, child, so we were here before already, c const child c as phaser.physics.arcade. Probably image is fine. That's going to be the, yep, that's the stars. Let's see, child.enable body true at the same x that it's already at. 0y, we're just going to bring it back to the top. Enable and show. Okay. So if there are no stars, we bring the stars back. When each time we collect a star, we're going to drop a bomb. Look at that. Oh no, I'm inside the 4. Yes, you only drop a bomb, which is easier. If you want to make these even harder, you can just put this bomb logic outside. So let's see. So let's go const x player.x is less than 400. This player. And then phaser.math.between Bernstein between 400, 800. So if the player is on the left side, put the bomb on the right side. Else phaser.math.between should be 0, 400. And if the player is on the right side, this probably is, yeah. So we can't optional chain that. So if this dot player, so if not player, we're just not going to do this. We may want to do break. Let's think. There's no code outside of this if right now, so this will relates with the entire function. For now, this is fine, but this could be a problem. I guess it would be safer if we did this. There's some matter of preference here. We'll go with this. So we're gonna make a bomb. This dot bombs dot create where the player, no, the x that we just defined from 16, and we're gonna use bomb. And then bomb dot set bounce 1, so it's very bouncy. Bomb dot set collide world bounds, just like the player. Set velocity y. Now I'm not getting up because this is actually going to give me any, but we do know that bomb is a phaser dot physics dot arcade dot image. Phaser.math.between minus 200 and 200. And that's at velocity. So that's x, y. Okay, fixed y velocity. Okay, so that explains a bit of what we're doing, which is more or less what should be what I explained. So let's see. Let's collect some stars and see how this goes. There is a bit of a bug, as you can see. It also hits the top of the world. But if you hit a star, you can jump off of a star. There's a bomb. One bomb. And if we hit it, we die. Game over. Alright, so that is the conclusion. Now you can keep building on this. You can add a game over scene or screen over this. You can make it harder. There's a lot to do. You can do a little Mario exit. If you remember in the original and in even modern Super Mario Brothers, when Mario dies, he gets hit, he jumps up and he falls back down. So that you can do. So that's getting started with TypeScript. If you want anything or you want to see anything specific, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more great game development tips and techniques using Phaser 3.